With the addition of role-specific quests in Season 16, having a strong early game has never been more important. You want to gain access to all of that bonus XP and that free teleport as quickly as you can and really start your impact on the map. So today we're going to be breaking down exactly in detail how to get your quest done faster than your lane opponent consistently and have good results in solo queue this season. First up, we're going to be talking about early game CSing. Now, farming while's always been quite an important skill in League, don't get me wrong, but this season it's even more so, because if you can CS better than your opponent consistently and get a notable CS gap, you're going to get your quests done before them, and you're going to get a notable XP gap, and you can use that to gain an even bigger advantage, impact the map, or even use your TP advantage over them if it's that type of matchup. So it's a very important skill to develop this season, especially. Now, I'm not just going to break down a bunch of examples of me hitting minions when they're low HP and just say, just farm better, that's how you get 18 out of 18 or anything like that. I'm going to be talking about important skills that you can work on, which will naturally make your CSing better over time. Now, the first skill we're going to cover is slow pushing versus hard pushing. And it's no surprise that having good wave control will allow you to farm better, but this is the most important concept for farming well consistently, knowing when to slow push and knowing when to hard push. Because the hardest time to collect minions is when your lane is in an awkward state, either stuck under their tower or something like that, or it's coming towards you in a matchup where you don't want it to. So knowing when to slow push your wave, build a big wave, get all that CS, gradually build it, and they can't really contest you while you're farming, and knowing when to hard push, nuke the wave in, so that you can get a base off, get your resources back, get stronger than your opponent, using that to farm well, is one of the most important wave control skills that will allow you to CS correctly. So my advice for this, the way to work on it, is definitely every single lane that you're pushing towards your opponent, you're pre-planning. Do I need to slow push this wave or do I need a hard push in? And if you ever get it wrong, if you say, yeah, I'm going to hard push this one, and then it randomly gets stuck outside of their tower, either you didn't hard push correctly or your decision-making process was wrong. So you have to go back to the VOD, watch it, pause before you decided to hard push, and see exactly what you did wrong. This is a skill that's going to be developed over time, but it only comes first if you start thinking about it. Every time I watch a student that struggles with this concept, either they're slow pushing every single wave until it gets stuck, or they're hard pushing every wave and your opponent's free farming, or the wave gets stuck anyway, because it's just like 5 minions, they can easily block it under tower. So it's really important to develop the skill. When do I slow push? When do I hard push? And it's easier than it sounds, I would say. If the wave looks big and monstrous and you can't contain it, probably you're going to hard push it, or if the wave's really close to their tower, you don't have much time, so you should hard push it. And if the wave is relatively even or really close to your side, you can slow push it. There's always some exceptions, sometimes your opponent can trim the wave, but as long as you can follow that concept consistently, you are going to farm quite well. It's really important. The first step is always thinking every single wave that's pushing towards your opponent. Do I slow push? Do I hard push? You'll get it right probably most of the time at first, and you'll just get better and better as you go until you're doing it 99% of the time. The next skill you need to develop if you want to improve your CSing is your base timers. A lot of the time you find yourself in a situation where, if I walk up to this wave, I'm just going to die, I'm too low, the opponent's stronger. You probably missed a back timer at some point. There's so many back timer mistakes I see every single day, and this is one of the most important skills if you want to see as well. But I'm actually going to cover this in a separate section because it's so important. There are so many benefits to this, and CSing is one of them. But one tip I want to give you for this is making sure you never ego your back timer. There's nothing more important in League than your base timer in the early game. I don't care if your jungler needs help, if there's a juicy little plate for you to get, if your wave is in a kind of an uncomfortable spot that you want to fix, if you need a base, we base as soon as possible. I've seen it way too many times where a student will get a solo kill, miss their back timer, and now even though you killed them, you're on the back foot, you're the one losing lane. So you always got to value your back timer as your #1 priority. Another skill you're going to have to work on is learning how to say no to your teammates and only moving if it's good for you. Now, of course, this is a general rule. There will be times when my lane is in a weird state, like frozen, and I know, okay, if I walk up and try to get this wave in, I'm going to die, so I'll roam, right? So that is going to be a situation where it's not good for me to move, but it's still better to roam. But that's not what I see. 99 times out of 100, what I see is your jungler gets attacked at top crab or his bloom, and he pings the sesame, and you just go straight away. Even though your wave looks hideous, even though your matchup's in a really good state, you just go straight away. Even though we're not going to kill their jungler, we have a Master Yi, and they've got like a Rexa, he's just going to tunnel away. Only move if it's good for you. If the wave is going to them, you're going to lose way too much if you roam. Or if there's a big wave about to crash onto your tower, you just can't roam. You need to learn to only move when it's good for you. This also ties into back timer. If you need a base, that has to be a higher priority than whatever you seem. If you cancel your back timer to help your jungler, it better be a triple kill guaranteed, or it's not a good play. It's really, really vital for you to only move at a time in your lane when it's good for you. Again, this is a general rule, but if you can have that as your cornerstone gameplay that you do most of the time, and then you learn when the exception is, then when you can learn, okay, the wave's not perfect, but this roam's going to work. I know it's going to work with Camille, with Malphite jungle. I know we can kill them. First, you have to build that foundation so that you never move at a bad time, and then you learn the exception. But if you can build that first foundation and you're never roaming and abandoning your wave, your CSing will naturally increase and you'll get sucked into a lot less bad plays. And our final skill to develop that will help you with your CSing is proxying. Proxying is the best way to get perfect CS every time, because not only is it just you versus the minions, it's impossible to miss one. If you manage to miss a CS at proxying, I'd be very, very impressed, but you're going to have extra tempo on your reset. So if you proxy a wave base and run straight back to top, you're not going to miss any. Where even if you crash a wave quite well at base and come back, a lot of the time you will miss 2 or 3 minions. So proxying is extremely efficient for never missing farm and also keeping tempo for the next wave. Sometimes you even get a base advantage over your opponent, which you can use to keep them trapped in lane, making it harder for them to farm. So definitely a powerful skill, but I'm not going to go for a full in-depth proxying guide right now. I already made that very recently. I will link it in the description, so feel free to check that out. But my advice for you for developing proxying actually ties back to the first skill we talked about today. Slow pushing versus hard pushing. If you're really on point with slow pushing and hard pushing your waves, you're going to buy enough time for you to walk around the back of the tower and proxy. Where if you're kind of half-assing your hard push, just last hitting, not really having a lot of intention to nuke this wave and go proxy, it's actually really hard to get a timer now because the waves move so quickly. The next wave's going to catch up a lot faster with the extra movement speed on the minions. So if you don't hard push the wave before that very well, it can be very hard to get into a good proxy position. So make sure you develop that skill first, and then you start to find timers to proxy, because if you hard push well, you're going to give yourself a lot of good openings for that. So here I have a good example of CSing, but I don't want to show one where I'm just in a good matchup, getting perfect CS every wave and proxying. I feel like you've seen all of that before. I wanted to showcase one where my CSing was really good in a losing matchup, with the wave actually coming towards me in a counter lane. So in this game here, Jack's up against Vladimir. Level 1, I pulled the wave so it'd come back towards me a little bit faster. Now this is a non-interactive lane in the sense where if it's a good Vladimir player who has Ignite, if you try to jump onto him and force and make it very volatile, you're just going to get chunked and he's going to out-sustain you. So I shifted my mental stack away from trading and put it purely on CSing. So you can see here, I tank the Q and get all 3 of these minions, and then back in the bush I don't take any free auto attacks unnecessarily. You can see I'm not interested in trying to hit him with E, trying to run at him, anything like that. I'm trying to play it for fun, but you don't want to take too much damage CSing, which is why I'm utilizing the bushes between every CS, so you can't auto or Q me for free. I'm just sort of watching the farm, keeping an eye on it, and then trimming this minion here, because I want to get this minion low. I don't want 2 minions 1 HP at the same time. I want this minion to be the first target, so I can get him down. Imagine I didn't hit him, he'd probably be low at the same time as that minion to my right here. So, but because I did that, I can go 1, 2, 3 here. But I'm still versus a lane opponent. I'm going to hit him. I've got QE. I got full mana. I want to give my mana regen a job. I don't want it to be too lazy. So I go in here, stun, get this minion, and then back out before I get hit by the Vladimir Q2. I'm still going to play the trading and the matchup fundamentals, the important parts of this matchup. I'm not going to give him Vladimir Q2. That's the #1 rule. So I'm not going to give him that. Wait it out. And now I'll go up to farm. So I can get this minion here when it gets lower. Eventually it will. The reason I'm not worried about this minion is no one is targeting him, so there's no sort of rush to get him. And then I go for the E here. Q, stun him and the wave at the same time in the train CC, so that if I stop the auto, he would wait, chase me and get that Q2. So I end the trade while he's stunned. So I'm trying to CS while taking as little damage as possible. So watching that bush to see what he does, or maybe 1% chance I get lane ganked. Not really, just to see what he does. And then just CSing. So you can see I went for this minion first, because I can last hit that one whenever I want. This one's 2 HP, 2 auto attack, self-death. So I can't last hit it whenever I want. I can do that one, then that one, and this one was already primed. If he was 2 hits off, I'd probably lose him, or have to use a spell on him to get him and the cannon. So that's why I'm sort of priming them as they come in. And then here, this minion here, he's tanking the tower. So of course I can get him, this one. And then next is going to be this 1 HP minion. I queued him because I didn't want to miss it. At this point, I realized I'm CSing really well. I want to queue that one just so I don't miss it. and then sort of trim the wave a bit here. So this one will die to 1 tower shot. When there's a minion that won't survive a tower shot, it's always good to try get rid of him or get him 1 HP before he hits tower. Before that minion was 2 autos. I hit him once before he hit tower. This one's the same. He's 2 autos, but 1 tower shot. So I need to deal with him very promptly. So I get rid of him. This one is an ugly minion. So I'm probably going to auto W him. Auto W, right? There we go. And then here I let the towers shoot twice. The reason why is towers have a cooldown. The shot, right? They don't just double shoot. So here, if I hit him right now, he'd instantly shoot one of these ones. I don't want that. I want it to shoot. It's on fresh cooldown, and now I've got time to kill this minion while he's sort of recharging. This minion's good because he tanks a little bit of the minion wave, so I can get him. And then I got this minion too. So out of the 25 minions from the first 4 waves, I got 24 of them with the wave coming in a counter matchup and still a little bit of trading going on. So I thought this was a cool example. You don't only have to be in super favorable matchups to get good CS. If you put a lot of mental stack into it, a lot of intention with what you're doing with the minions, you can definitely get relatively good farm. Not perfect every time. And if I verse, you're a really good player, maybe if I verse Zeus's Vladimir, I'm not going to have 24 farm, of course, but you can have, higher CS than if you weren't thinking about it. You're trying to trade and all that stuff. If you put more mental stack and sort of practice into that skill. Moving on to crusting, and one of the best additions to the new season is definitely that tower crust. Having a good way to attack it from range, even as a melee champion, and make progress on their plates is definitely a really good way to gain a lead in lane, but it also benefits your quest quite a lot. You gain 40 extra quest points every time you get a tower plate, so this is definitely something you want to be playing for in your lane, especially when you're in a good matchup or you have a lead. You should always be looking to make progress on their crust. Now, the number 1 skill to develop to get good at this, that I see a lot of players struggle with, is threat assessment. Assessing the threat that the lane opponent can do on you 1v1. Because of course, if they're not there, it's pretty obvious, hit the tower. It's going to be very, very easy. There is no threat. But what if they're there? How do you know if you can hit the tower plate or not? Now, a lot of that goes in terms of your matchup and your threat assessment, but some advice on this is if the champion you're playing up against is a conqueror or a lethal tempo champion, champions that love long trading, you do have to be more careful of them if they're guarding it. If they're just farming far away, make sure you try to attack the crust on the opposite side of them. So if they're sort of top hugging the wall, you can look to proc the crust from the bot side. If they're bot side CSing, you can attack it from top side, that type of thing. So try to path in a way to hit that crust away from them. But if they're guarding you well, they're sort of staunching you and looking at you, that doesn't mean you can't always hit it. If your champion doesn't have sustain, if you have sustain, it's quite obvious. Let's say I've got Rev Hydra on Olaf. I don't care what I tank, I'll just heal off the next wave. If you don't have great sustain, it really depends on the champion you're versing. So champions that have lethal tempo and conqueror are quite threatening because they're going to stack on you under the tower. And then even by the time you leave the tower range, let's say initially you're stronger than them, you're starting this trade-off down, 8-10 conqueror stacks, they have a big advantage over you. This is especially important against stacking champions like Darius or Zehen. You have to be a lot more careful proccing crust against them. Now, if you have a gap closer, that's fine. Hit the tower, dash away, that type of thing. But other than that, you have to be very careful of those champions that love long trades. But if they're a short trading champion, let's say they're like a Gangplank or something, it all depends if you can maintain control after taking their poke. So let's say I go and hit a tower, and the Varus pokes me down a bit for it. Can I still get prior on the next wave? Can I one-shot the next wave that comes in and base? And if the answer is yes, you can do that every time. If the answer is no, after that chunk I might be too low, I won't be able to crash and base, it can be quite difficult, then it's not worth going for the crust on that timer, because even though it gives a lot of dopamine, it's very fun to break it can really ruin your lane if you do it at the wrong time. I've seen people die for it, I've seen people take bad trades for it, but to be honest, 9 times out of 10 what I see are people being too scared to proc it. You need to learn this skill, you need to push yourself out of your comfort zone, you can hit it from range, so make sure you utilize that as best as you can. Watch your opponent's body language, they're not always guarding it, especially in lower ranks, they're so focused on CSing, eyes glued to their screen, trying to get their minions. A lot of time you can proc the crust and they don't even know it. So make sure you push yourself. But if they're a strong champion like a Darius, like a Sid, and they're actually walking at you every time you go near the tower trying to guard it, probably think twice about it. Now, another thing to keep in mind, a skill for proccing tower plates on top of the crust, is auto resets work. So you gain bonus range on your auto from a distance, but you can also auto and auto reset. So on Olaf, I can auto W from far away, Jax auto W, Zehen auto Q, so on and so forth. So you can get 2 free autos on the tower. So make sure you're trying to do that every time. Because even if just the one auto procs the crust, you want to sort of butter up the next tower plate for the next time you go for it. So auto reset, you might as well get that bonus extra damage down onto it. Really, really impactful. And the final tip for this, I've already talked about this in a previous video, proc it off cooldown. Even though the crust builds and builds and builds, it is way more efficient. I'd say maybe 30 or 40% more efficient to proc it every 90 seconds, every single time it comes up. So make sure you're always trying to do this, especially if you have a lead or in a favorable matchup. You should never be sitting there within 3-4 minutes of not proccing the crust. Get it as much as possible, which means you shouldn't be freezing on a timer where you can proc that crust or you can proxy. That is a way better way to progress the game. Of course, if it's like 3-4 minutes, you can freeze. I'm talking about later on in the lane. Crust City is going to be a much better win con for you. Now, like I mentioned in the CSing section, having good base timers is one of the most important skills you can develop as a top laner, not just for increasing your overall CS per minute, but just for being a better top laner in general. So what I'm going to do is go through a bunch of different examples of myself basing in recent solo queue games and breaking down the reasoning behind why and what to look out for. So in this game up against Volibear, I wanted to go for a wave 3 crash because the wave was very, very slow at the start. He didn't really hit it that much. And if I wave 3 crash, I can do whatever I want with the wave 4 or 5, or I can even base. Now here, I took a trade against him, because I know after I crash wave 3, I have the option to recall. So I'm planning my base time in advance, and I don't want to base on full HP. I want to chunk him a little bit, get chunked a bit, so that I'm getting resources and items. It's pretty rare that you want to base just for an item, you know, basing just for a longsword or something. You want to get both. So here, this is a really optimal back timer, because if I don't, and I have to play this bounce back versus an 80% HP Volibear with 2 potions, and I'm around 45%, 15, it can be very difficult versus Ignite Volibear. So if I don't base him, the future state of my lane is going to be very difficult. But because I did, got the resources, got the items, I was able to play for a kill. Now, everyone's been in this situation as a top laner if you're taking Ignite or Ghost before. If you play a champ that can take these combat sums, everyone has been in the spot where you kill your opponent and your resources look a little bit ugly. Now, in this situation, I decide to just trim the wave a little bit and base, because not only is it faster for me to do that, you can imagine I've got time. I'm Olaf, right? I'm Olaf. I can push in this wave if I wanted to. I could probably push in this wave and maybe even the next one, because I'd be a level 5 Olaf. But by the time the next wave comes and I'm pushing it in, Volibear will get back to lane. Again, it's kind of thinking ahead, and if he gets back to lane, he can stop my recall, he might make it hard for me to crash in, he can make it difficult, especially if you play a champion with bad wave clear, like Camille or Jax or Fiora, this can be game losing. So it's actually better, 9 times out of 10, after a kill like this, especially early game, to base as fast as possible with the wave coming towards you. I don't care if you're one wave off Sheen or pickaxe or whatever, basing with the wave coming towards you is way more efficient. The only reason I'm trimming this now is because 4 caster minions is way easier to manage than the extra wave. And I moved here just in case there was a ward in that bush, because that caster would have stopped me. So that's why I based him kind of as quickly as possible after killing this cannon minion. It would have been nice to base in that bush, but if that minion died and that caster, there was a ward in that bush, that caster stopped me, it would waste too much time. So now, because I didn't kill this wave that we see right now, I'm going to get back to lane at a similar time to Volley. So that cuts down the amount of time he gets to not lane against me. That is really important if you're stronger, if you're in a good position, because even if he didn't do anything bad, even if he didn't stop my base, or even if he didn't block the wave, he still gets to lane this wave here that I pushed into him, and the next wave without me there. So he gets too much free time, free space as a behind top laner. And you know, top laners, we are a ruthless role. We don't let people farm for free. So it's really important to base kind of as early as possible. Ideally, you'd base before or at a similar time to the enemy top lane after killing them. That is sort of the goal, so you get back to lane at the same time, and they don't get to spend 10 seconds without you there. And imagine I push their wave, he would probably get to spend 2 waves without me there. Now we'll skip ahead a bit, because we only got the 1 kill. We're not too far ahead. Never mind as I say that. The Olaf City, kill him. Now, with this wave, I'm going to push under tower. So why? I just did the same thing as I did before. Why am I going to push this one? So this time the wave is pushing towards him. I have more minions than him, right? I've got 8 minions here versus 7. It's going to push towards him. So if I based right now, I would lose a lot more. I would lose so much. So it's better for me to push in this wave. And I know I've got time to push in this wave and make it crash under tower. Where in the previous situation where I killed him the first time, his wave is pushing towards me. He has more minions than me. So you always want to try after killing your opponent if you can, based on this situation, because not only do they lose the whole wave from their 9 or 10 minions dominating your 6, you can see he got back to lane like, when did he get back to lane? Right now, where was it? Back here. He got back to lane around Yeah, he's only got like 2 minions left. He lost so much from this situation. So not only does he lose a lot more with the wave coming towards you, you get to get back to lane with the wave on your side. And that is so important because I'm stronger than him with the wave on my side. And you see exactly what I did with that. The wave's still here and I can kill him. If you crash the wave, it's going to bounce back. It's going to bounce back from his side. He can slow push it. He can build a big wave and the wave's kind of around here. So it's really important, but it's not worth giving up a bunch of farm because if I based right now and came back, the wave would be like here and I'd lose a whole wave for free, right? So it's always the main thing is the wave coming back towards me? Yes, base as fast as I can. Is the wave going to him? Yes, let me get that in as fast as possible. It's a really important rule to follow. Now, the next back time in this lane definitely has some variables in play here, so it's important to go through them as well. Now, in this situation, I'm really far ahead, so maintaining my lead is more important than killing this volley bear again. Consistency is key here. So in this situation, you can see I'm trying to poke him down slowly, stay healthy myself, but I make a mistake here. I walk up to get farm when my Q is down, and I'm not allowed to do that. I shouldn't have done that in this situation, so I made a trading mistake. So in this situation, I'm just trying to do the best I can, poke him down, and make him base. So here he chooses to recall. So it might feel pressuring, and I think a lot of players would fall into the natural back timer here of he based, I need a base as well. Some people would base straight away, some people would kill this wave and then base, but I know I've seen it myself from a lot of students, people would want to match this recall. Because you don't want to be in lane half HP when volley bear comes back, 100%. But you're going to see a variable in play here. So if I stay, not only can I get 2 plates, and to be fair, I could have just got the crust and based, and they would have been fine. It wouldn't have been a mistake. It would have been okay, but not the best play. Instead, I greed a second plate and go and eat fruit. Fruit can kind of cheat at back timer. I wouldn't do it every time. It's not like fruit means you can never base, especially if you have a big buy or you're really low HP or mana. But here I'm only missing about 30%. And that's what fruit is pretty much going to give me here. It gives me all the resources back I need. And I'm still stronger. Without upgrading this longsword into a vamp scepter or the cauliflower hammer, I'm still stronger than this volley bear. I've got an XP and item advantage over him, despite not spending this gold. If I was weaker than him, even after eating fruit, I would have skipped the fruit and based completely after 1 plate, not 2. But here, because fruit was available, I know it's more efficient for me, more pressuring, to get 2 plates, eat the fruit, and stay in lane for longer. Especially if I can overstay, and maybe not overstay, but stay a bit longer and get my Ravenous Hydra. It's a much stronger buy than just getting a Vampy Scepter. So chunk this guy down, but now I base. So why do I base now? So in this situation, my mana pool and ulti and HP, I'm too vulnerable. If I got ganked on this timer, it's very likely they can kill me. My resources are so weak and I have no ulti. So it's just better to base now. Basing when you're in bed, resource, no flash, no ulti, that type of thing, the efficiency goes up a little bit more because while you're basing and walking back to lane, your ulti is coming back off cooldown. But of course, the main reason is not that I'm not like min-maxing my cooldown that much. It's more so if I got ganked here, I'd probably die. And I'm low HP, low mana, bunch of gold, so it's better for me to base here. Tier 2 boots, full HP, full mana, and now I'm ungankable again. So that's another kind of variable at play there. I only needed to base on that time because my ulti was down. If I got ganked, I was very vulnerable. So having extra resources and sort of buying a bit of time for the ult to come back up, that's why I decided to base here. Even though staying would have been okay, it wasn't the best play here and there was too much risk involved considering how far ahead I was. For our second example, I wanted to showcase one of a harder game where my opponent did set me behind early game and their jungler came top once or twice, so definitely some more variables at play here. I'm just sort of trying to keep the wave here so I can go for a long trade. Grasp Fiora want short trades, I want long trades, so that's what I'm looking to do here, and eventually I do get an opportunity. So pop the ghost, hit the axe, and don't look at this next axe. I mean, it's a pretty hard one to hit, but still we miss that one. Now, I could have based in this situation and it would have been okay. The reason I didn't is she's in a worse spot than me. She doesn't have TP, she doesn't ignite Fiora, she needs to buy, she doesn't spend the gold from early game. She's in a really, really weak position. So it's way better for me, even though my resources aren't perfect, to stay here. It's way better for the 1v1. There is some risk involved, but before I was 2 overs volley bear, no risk playstyle, here I'm behind, so I'm taking a slight risk here, and I did see Lee Sin earlier down in bottom, their jungler, so I want to play this out. I want to gain an advantage here, because right now if I base, she can kill the wave and base as well. Then she's going to have a big item advantage over me from the kill that someone gave her, I don't want to name names, from the kill, from having more farm than me. So I don't want to let her base here. So I'm trying to poke around the tower, keep her stuck there, and really bleed her out. Because right now, even though I do need to base, she's in a worse position than me. Now, the reason I based him is because their jungler is coming. Right? On this situation, he didn't have time to come because he was bought earlier. In this situation here, he could come at any moment, and I don't have a ward. So this is a situation where 1v1 custom game, not basing him, but in the reality of a jungler being top, I just have to recall. But because I know she has no parry, when she goes to stop me, I come and collect my kill here. And then I'm able to outplay him a little bit and beat him up. But if she didn't face check me, I couldn't have killed her. That's the only reason I killed her there. So if she didn't face check me, I would have just actually based him and let her get away with it because her jungler was here before mine. That's sort of everything that's going through my head on that kind of base timer sequence. But now I need to base. It's pretty hard to get this wave in, and it's coming towards me anyway. So why is this wave coming towards me? I mean, now it's easy that caster died, but even if that caster didn't go for a run, the suicide mission, even if he stayed there, the wave would have came towards me, because if the wave is the same size, or even a little bit bigger, depending on the side, it's going to come towards you depending on where it starts. If it starts here on her side of the lane, even if it's a 9v9 in terms of minion waves, it'll come back to me. So I know if I base here, then she will lose more than me. And now you can see she respawns now. I'm 4 seconds behind her, but we get back to lane at a similar time, which is what we talked about. Really important. I don't want to let her lane without me. You can see, I mean, she's doing okay. As I say that, I'm probably going to kill her here. I don't want to let her lane without me. And I come back to a freeze. So important. If I try to crash that wave, then it would come back to a slow push. Her having a big slow push coming back towards me. But I come back to a freeze here. So the first thing she has to do is fight me on my freeze. And I'm full HP. And remember, long trade versus short trading champion. This is what I want. I want a full HP versus full HP. Where if she's slow pushing, either I have to give a bunch of CS, or she can poke me down. So basing early is way more important than like min-maxing extra farm, a plate, you know, whatever. Getting back to lane before or at a similar time to your opponent is very powerful. Now, after this kill, I had 2 options. I could trim this wave, pull it up to here and base, or I can one-shot it. The reason I decided to one-shot it is because my wave was so far away. If I pull it up here, I have to kind of hold it for ages while I'm waiting for this wave to catch up. If this wave we see by my tier 2 was already passing tier 1, then I would have just trimmed and based. But because it's not, because it's so far away, I don't want to stand there with my hand in my pants, like holding the wave forever. So I'm just going to one-shot this one-shot the next one, and base. But if I was Camille or Fiora or some dogshit wave clear champ, then I would have based on the freeze. So now we come back to lane. Again, we got the lane in the nice state, because we didn't take too long to base. And then we go for keeping her stuck. So here I matched another recall. So she was basing. This is another mind game as well. I crashed this wave and pretended to recall. And she actually based up. So I waited for her to recall. And then I knew, okay, if I crash this wave right now, she will lose a little bit and I can hit the tower. So I one-shot the wave. The reason I didn't go for the crust is I was really scared of the jungler stopping my base here. That's why. Because it's grub timer. Lee Sin should be topside for grub timer. If he stops my base, now I'm 200 mana without buying my tier mat for this grub fight. Really bad for the game. But 1v1 custom game, of course, we hit that crust there. You can see Lee Sin's top, right on schedule. Here, we just got to hit her with the stanky leg, outplay her. Dodge this thing, and we need to base. So we're just going to base right now. So right now, this is another good time to base. Some really good examples today. Really good time to base because if the wave is dead in the middle, you don't lose that much. You lose a very similar amount, right? It's like level 1. The wave is pretty even. If you've ever been in like a training tool, it's never perfectly even. It always goes some way for some reason, but it's not that bad. If it's in the middle, you lose a very similar amount most of the time. And even if you lose like 2 or minions more or whatever, it's still a good reset, right? So here you can see I base now, I come back. What did I lose? Like 3 or 4 minions? 4 minions there. She probably missed about 3. Really good because I needed the base really badly. If I tried to get this next wave, he might cancel his recall and stop my base. Game over, right? Because remember, your back time is your top priority. More than plates, more than helping your jungler, more than your wave looking really beautiful. It's better to base as your number 1. Because missing your back time, your nexus will explode. So I'll show one more base here. Just sort of keep poking around the tower. Hit the tower here. 1 extra plate. And base on this timer because I have my full item. I could technically stay, but I've got no potion charges, half mana, but the main one, of course, full item. As a general rule, once you have your full item, your Triforce on Camille, your Axiomark on Riven, yeah, I guess that's what they build now. Rev Hydra on Olaf. You want to base as soon as possible and get that. Don't base at a terrible time if you don't have to. But as a general rule, you want to base as soon as you can. As soon as you can get a good base off, you want to do it. And here I only lost like 1 minion. Maybe two. Nope. Yeah, just the 1 minion, two minions, 1 XP. And I got my full item, full mana, and now I'm ready to play. So definitely a lot of more difficult choices for backtimers in this game. So hopefully that showcases the importance and just really breaks down my thought process of when I'm basing, when I don't need to, and the reasoning behind it. Hopefully it just improves your backtimer knowledge overall. Next up, we're going to be talking about teleport usage, which is extremely important this season, whether you play a champion that takes TP, like Jax, or a champion that doesn't take TP very often because you get the free TP later on anyway. So I have examples of both, starting with this Jax game here, a champion that takes TP most of the time. So it is important to optimize the way you use TP, so I've made some general rules or guidelines that you can follow. And the first rule you can follow is you can use your first TP back to lane pretty much every single game. Is a really good guideline to do. And it's something I don't see my students do enough of, using your TP to attack. A lot of people hold their TP in case they need it. Like, oh, what if I get ganked, or what if I take a bad trade? No, TP is not made for defensive purposes. It is used to attack. So you'll see what I mean here. I base and use my first TP back to lane, trim the wave, get it in a nice position. And now I go for this opportunity. Look how close the wave is to my tower. So I have such a long lane to run this guy down, the short trading champion, with my long trading champ. Lethal Tempo Jax, and beat his head clean off. So if we go back to it, what if I didn't use my TP? What if I held it and thought, oh, if I get ganked, I can always TP back to lane? He would crash this wave under tower. He would probably proc the crust, and the wave would come back towards him. I'd completely lose this opportunity. So if I play that badly, I might as well just take exhaust or something like that. So in this situation, I use my TP as a more aggressive option, then an ignite, then an exhaust, and this gave me a kill. And it's really important to use your first teleport that way. It's pretty rare you're going to TP bottom or to first dragon in like 5-6 minutes. It's almost never happens. Sometimes you got that flank ward and the enemy bot's trolling, but I would say, I've played about 110 games this season. I don't think I've used my first TP bottom yet. I don't think a good opportunity's popped up. Always back to top. You just lose too much if you do it, and it has to be super guaranteed. So definitely a good rule to follow. Now for your second TP, that's where it gets a little bit interesting. You want to use your second TP ideally to attack the map somewhere. So you can see here, I'm looking bottom, for my second TP timer. I'm pinging on my way, getting those comms flowing, and I TP behind them here. So first TP back to lane, second TP to attack. If they weren't inting right now, if they were just basing, I would walk back to top and hold my TP and hold it for this future opportunity. It might be a second dragon fight. It might be, they might push after getting back to lane. But you can kind of see my mindset. First TP, I wasn't even looking. Second TP, I'm popping my head down every few seconds, seeing if there's a good opportunity to get involved there. Now, if you play a champion that doesn't take the normal TP and you get a free one later on, like my boy Olaf, or maybe you're a Garen or Riven enthusiast, the way you use this first TP is extremely important. I still see some people using that first TP to get back to lane to catch a wave under tower. You almost never want to do that. You almost never want to use this TP to catch one wave. It's better to let the whole wave die to tower than to waste this first TP. Because most of the time, this TP, you get it around the same time as your item spike. So you're extremely strong. So right now, I'm the strongest champ in the game. It even doesn't matter if that Ashe had 10 kills. I'm the strongest champ in the game right now. I'm a level 9 when I get my quest done, level 10 Olaf with Stridebreaker, and that's going to be the same if you're Stridebreaker Garen or Riven with Axiomark or Darius, whatever champ you're playing, you're going to be the strongest champ in the game at their one item spike, unless you're 0-5 or something like that. Right, so this is where using that first TP to spread your power, it doesn't even have to be your lead, your power around the map. I'm not that far ahead of this team mode. That's where using this first TP is really, really important. So skip that random skirmish. But this TP, you can see I'm looking bottom permanently. Look at the way my camera's moving the second my TP's been unlocked. Before I had TP, I'd keep my eye on bottom. It's kind of interesting to see what's going on, but it wasn't like a hunger to get involved because I can't. I'm not going to ghost down there. It's going to take too long. So you can kind of see I'm always watching bottom, moving the camera, waiting for them to overcommit, and boom. Right now, my wave's not even crashed under his tower. I'm probably going to lose 2 plates, 2 waves if Teemo doesn't match TP. That's worth it. Getting involved bottom when you're the strongest unit on the map is worth giving a few plates and waves for at this timer. at 13, 12, 14, whenever the timer comes up. It's not always going to be the second you get your quest done. TNC come here, kill the AD, kill the support. Viego can't get involved. These are game-winning plays. Look at the kill score before I joined this. 15 to 13. My bot lane is losing. The game's on the back foot right now. This is the game-changing play you want to make with that first TP. If you find yourself in your games ever using this first TP, the 7-minute painful cooldown TP, and you don't get a lot with it, you have to take it super seriously, review it, and figure out why, because this is something that should be used to attack the map. I'm the strongest unit in the map by far at this point in the game. So if I can TP bottom or second dragon or bot jungle and get a fight going, it's so impactful for the game. So remember, if you take normal TP, first TP back to lane, second TP to attack the map, and most of the time that second TP should line up with your item. If you're playing a non-TP user, make sure you use your free teleport, the first one, to attack bottom or dragon, because the earlier you do it, the better, because you don't want to do it at, let's say, 16 minutes, and then you don't have TP till 23, which is 3 minutes after Baron spawns. That can put you in a very uncomfortable situation. It's still worth it if it's a good play, but it's way more optimal if you can do it at 12 or 13 or something like that. So I'm always looking to be super proactive when I have that quest completed. Now, there is a really important concept I don't really hear talked about that much that really helps you be more consistent in terms of winning your lane, getting your quest done, and just winning games in general. And that is the difference that making a mistake later on in your lane will make compared to early lane. Making mistakes in the early stages of your lane is nowhere near as impactful as later on. Now, of course, if you make a mistake early, it might be really hard to come back and you could slowly bleed out. I don't mean it's not impactful, of course. And if you do well early game, the opponent makes mistakes, you can snowball that well. That's not what I mean. What I mean is, let's imagine your opponent got solo killed at level 3. Pretty big mistake. But if you had made that exact same mistake and got solo killed or even died to a gank at level 9 or 10, that is so much worse for the game because of how the quest system works now. Now, it's always been that way. Later mistakes has always been more impactful, but it is even more so now. So showcase exactly what I mean. In this game, this Kennen has been playing the lane pretty well. He's up like 15 or 20 CS. I lost my flash and got chunked from a gank. I made a couple mistakes myself, not having good farm. Maybe, I could optimize my CSing and potent trading, stuff like that. He's probably played the lane to a pretty good level so far. But he made a mistake right here. So right now I'm able to get a kill onto him, and boom, all of his hard work, all of his bleeding me out, 20 CS gap, getting the 2 tower plates, setting me up for that gank, baiting me in, all of that's undone instantly from this one late lane mistake. The later lane mistakes are so much worse for the game. Back here, if you actually check me walking back to lane, I'm down to 15 farm, and then I've got no flash, and I'm chunked. So right now, my lane, he's going to get the quest done before me. He's going to have access to TPing bottom, stuff like that, before I can. He's going to have an XP lead, and he can use that to keep me stuck here, really, really suffering. But he made this one mistake here, and that was wasting his having bad spacing, pretty much. So he walked up here. He walked up to hit the tower in front of me, and had bad spacing. So because of this mistake here, failing the spacing, which may seem like a small thing, but in high rank range versus melee, it's everything. He got killed, and now I get my quest done. You can see I get the plates. He loses these big waves. I proxy the next wave, and now I'm in a very, very, very good position. And I come back here, get the kill, get the quest done, and now all of a sudden I go from being 20 CS down in a really bad spot, no flash chunked under tower, to being able to completely 1v9 this game with my quest done, level 11.5 at this point, 5 plates, all because of that one major late lane mistake. Because plates are so much easier to take later on in the lane. Towers feel very, very buttery later on, where the first 2 plates are usually pretty easy, but plate 3, 4, 5 can be quite difficult until later on. But because he made that late lane mistake, now I'm just so accelerated. I'm already getting the bonus XP from these extra waves over him. So not only does he lose more from the death, because his death timer is way longer, I'm getting bonus XP already. He still hasn't got his quest done. So this is a lead that he can never really get back. He can't get this missing potential XP compared to if he kept me stuck under tower, poked me down, gained a bigger CS gap, got the quest done before me. That's an opportunity he's never going to get back now. It's not like I make a mistake and he randomly gets all that bonus XP. So that's why it's so much more important. And you can see it because I get my TP here, I can make a play, kill his team. be even more impactful. So definitely keep that in mind. It doesn't matter if you snowball well consistently, if you win your lane well, if you solo kill your lane every game, if you're not snowballing and ending that lane consistently, it's not going to matter for you much this season. You need to be good at winning lane, but cleanly snowballing and cleanly closing out that matchup if you want to be a more impactful, consistent player. Now, in terms of the quest completion timer itself, I don't feel like it's super relevant when you get it done. It really depends on the game. If you verse an autofill Mundo player, you should probably get your quest done way earlier than if you verse a Mundo One Trick, for example, even though it's the same matchup. But I'm going to go through a bunch of different screenshots of when I completed the quest from my recent games and just sort of talk about what I feel is a good rough timing. So you can see here, got it done at around 11 minutes 40, and this is like a perfect game, right? 10 CS per minute, 3 kills, got the plates, all that good stuff. So I feel like between 11 and 12:30, you're having a great game. If you get your quest done anytime before 12:30 or 13, you're in a really good position. So looking at the second one, you can see Camille, just a normal 2-2, CS isn't that great. 13 minutes. So this is what I would call a rough game. You're not playing too well. It's not the end of the world. I think games where I've done really poorly, it's more like 15. But you can kind of see in a game where you're a bit behind, you haven't been CSing that well, which is why we talked about CSing being so important. It does take you quite a while. But this Camille game, I CS a little bit better. A few more kills, few more plates. Managed to get this one done a lot earlier. So it's not just CS. You can see the CS is only about a 10 difference. But having extra kills and plates does really close that CS gap up as well. This one here, you can see, just like we talked about before, 10 cents per minute, good plates. You're always going to have that quest done very quickly. So CSing is such an important part of it, but same with making progress on the crust, like we've talked about here. The next example, I want to showcase a boring one. Zillion top into Fiora, the classic top lane matchup. I got this quest done at around 12:40 with no kills. I did get 2 plates just from crust maxing, but all I really did was farm okay, not even great, down 20 from the clock. Zillion autos are really bad, cut me some slack. But you can kind of see 12:40. I'd say this is fine for this type of matchup. It's not a good matchup for Zillion, it is losing. But I'd say 12:40, maybe 12:20, 12:10 I'd be quite happy with. This is perfectly fine for that type of losing matchup where you're more useful when you outscale later on. Now, Olaf versus Rumble, this was a losing matchup. I got counterpicked, he's got Phage Rush, it's really hard. But you can see here, I got the quest done around 13. This is a bit behind what I'd be happy with. Again, 12 minutes, 12:30. Even in this losing matchup, I'd be quite satisfied with. The reason why it's bad is because I died to ganks. That means I lost CS, so that really, really hurt me here. This game, you can see, CS isn't amazing, but I got good plates and I got a couple kills here. So I got the quest done at 12 minutes. You can see how impactful just CSing well can be. The games where I have 110 or 115, 120 CS, I'm getting that quest done at like 11 minutes compared to games like this, even where I have a bunch of solo kills and tower plates. And another game there. This will be our final one. Jack's game from behind. I'll just showcase another behind one. 13-minute quest. So again, I'd say for this matchup, I played Jax vs Fiora. If I played a bit better, maybe 12:30, 12:20, I'd be happy with. Now, keep in mind, I am playing in Challenger, and I'm quite good at CSing and plates and that stuff. If you're a bronze player playing in bronze, or a silver player playing in silver, you shouldn't feel like, alright, if I don't get my quest down at 11 minutes 30, I'm playing badly. Anything like that. Keep in mind also the opponents you're versing are worse, so you've got more access to kills and towers, plates and stuff like that, but your overall CSing skill is going to be lower unless you work on it, so don't feel the pressure to match my timing. This is just sort of what I would base as a good standard, and it's important for you to see your own standard of what a good quest would be. But if you feel like it's not up to that, if you feel like, oh, I'm getting my quest in at 14, 15 minutes every game, kind of no matter what you rank, that's not great. So important for you to figure out why. Is your CS slow? Are you dying to ganks? All of that stuff. Really figure out why did you miss back timers, which allowed you to get zoned, and really try to work on that skill, and that'll get you getting this quest done faster and getting that XP siphoned in as soon as possible. Next up, we're going to be summarizing the main takeaways of what we've learned so far, just to give you crystal clear objectives to work on in your games and to try not overwhelm you too much. But to be honest, if you've made it this far in the video, you're probably thinking something along the lines of, alright, good back timers, good CSing. Wait a second, you're just telling us to have good top lane fundamentals. And I'm not going to bullshit you, that is partly true. This is more so an early game top lane fundamentals guide, called a quest guide because quest guide is a cooler name for it. But if you have good early game fundamentals that we talked about, like the CSing, the back timers, not roaming at bad timings, you will get your quest done faster and you'll do really well this season. Because that ties us to our main takeaway. One of the main takeaways, having a consistent early game has never been more important. If you're the type of player like I was back in the day when I was a young man, where some games you completely pop off, carry the game, and other games you're just a jungler's meal, running it down, making the game really hard, not consistent, the season will be harder for you. Because top lane is a stronger role, you're going to make the enemy top lane level 15 when your teammates are level 12, it's going to be a really bad time. A more consistent strategy, and one that helped me on my recent Shell climb, is just playing a more consistent game overall. Maybe you're not having that 10 out of 10 dopamine boosting performance, but you're playing more so at 8 or a 9 more often, and you're not ruining that, being the lose condition that often, and even just carrying the game that way. Good farm, good TPs, good backtimers. That is a really consistent formula for winning. Our second takeaway kind of ties on what we talked about. CSing and backtimers are two of the most important top lane skills you can work on. If you feel like they're okay but not that good, put time on them. If you feel like you're bad at them, put time on them. They are really, really important skills for you to work on. They're skills that you can always get better at, but especially if you ever feel yourself in a situation where I just killed him, but now I'm kind of stuck in lane because I greeted for my pickaxe or Sheen, seen that 100 times, or, I went out my jungler and missed my back time, at least scrubs for him or something like that, then you really need to work on back timing. It's so important. Or if you feel like most of the time, like 10 minutes, 12 minutes, you have 40 or 60, 70 CS, you need to put a lot of time into figuring out why. Because I guarantee you, unless you're relatively new to the game, it's not because you're missing 3 minions out of 6. I promise you, it's because you're missing backtimers or dying to ganks or over-respecting something along those lines. So you need to figure out the reason and work on it, because CSing is even more important than it used to be. Now, next takeaway. Push your limits when you're crusting, especially if you're in lower ranks. I can almost guarantee you you're not pushing your limits enough and hitting the tower plate. There might be one of you thinking, nope, I go for it every game and get killed for it, but that's not what I see. Most of the time I see a student not hitting it when they could. So push your limits, figure out when you can and when you can't. Make sure you take the learning seriously when it doesn't work out for you, but don't just walk up in front of a Darius and hit it. That's going to be obvious. Think more about it. Okay, that guy's playing Ornn, he just queued for a CS, he doesn't have Q now. I can probably go hit that crust. So push your limits on crusting a lot more than you are right now. And finally, it doesn't matter how well you play early if you don't close out the lane cleanly. This was always a true concept I like to teach, but I'll say now times 10. Let's say your opponent gets solo killed twice, dies to a gank in their 0-3, but you die once at 10 minutes, 30 or 11 minutes, the game's going to be really hard. They're going to get the entire tower, all the plates, you're going to lose like 2, 3, 4 waves because your back timer is so long, or your death timer is so long, you are going to get heavily punished, they'll probably get your shutdown too, they'll get their quest done, makes the game really hard. So make sure you're not satisfied with winning your lane, you must win your lane and close it out cleanly. Don't give anything up. It's better to only kill your opponent 2 times compared to 4, and not risk dying that 1 or 2 times that you're probably used to doing. So definitely cleanly closing out, cleanly snowballing, working on your consistency overall is sort of the name of the game this season. That'll help you go very, very far in solo queue.